At this point, we are live, and I think the sound problems are gone. So I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and we're here with Keshe, and he is an Iranian physicist, and he is living in Belgium and has created what is called the Keshe Foundation. He's working on plasma physics, and basically, I'm going to let you continue that introduction, Keshe. If you can tell the audience more about your background. I'd like to hear how you came to be in Belgium, and if you could also describe maybe some of the schooling or education that you have.
I was born in Iran. My first 15 years of education was done in Iran. I went to England to carry on with my education. I graduated from Queen Mary College, University of London, as a nuclear engineer in 1981. And from early years in the university, I could not agree with what was on the table from the theoretical and nuclear industry. So I left the industry and carried on with the business to support the development. And in 2001, I knew I have reached a point that I can go ahead with what I was planning, what I was thinking is the right way of handling the physics. And in 2004, I was invited by a Belgian organization, it's called FLAG, for assessment of the technology. And it took professors from the university some 7 months and a lot of presentation to write a very simple report that this is talking about the space theories and energy production could be feasible theoretically. Then we entered into real development technology with a space company in Belgium, and for some 3-4 months. And when they decided, yes, it's correct, we can produce the gravitational energy system, then we ran into problems for whatever reasons in Belgium, the structure of the political and financial situation is. Then I went separate, and over the past 6-7 years, we tried to negotiate with a lot of governments to bring the technology out, but they were silenced. And about 2 months ago, we brought the technology to public. And that's why people have started hearing about what we are doing and what's going on with Keshe Foundation. Keshe Foundation is a non-profit organization, and it spends all its money on research and development. My whole purpose is a space technology, and we don't claim anything. We just carry on with what we think is correct, and on the off chance that people think we are all sorts of things politically motivated or whatever, we have nothing to do with any government or any organization. But we collaborate with a lot of organizations and governments to see the technology through. So that is the bottom of it.
Okay, thank you for that. I do want to introduce Matt Pulver, who is joining us. Everyone will see him on the screen there. He has begun to work with Camelot. I've known Matt for quite some time at this point, and he is working with Paul Laviolette as, well, he's sort of partnering with Laviolette on many papers that they've been writing, scientific papers. He has a background in physics that's quite substantial, and he will be also heading up a new enterprise that we're going to be doing called Blue Science. And this is probably one of the first interviews along those lines. It's going to be concerned with free energy and alternative energy technology. So we will be bringing on a lot of Camelot witnesses who have been dealing in this area, and we're very, very happy to have Keshe here as a physicist or having a background in physics. I guess Matt wouldn't really classify himself as a physicist, and I would like Matt to introduce himself briefly here as well. Matt, do you want to say a few words, and then we'll move on?
Yeah, it's an honor and pleasure to be here with you, Carrie. Just briefly, like I said, I think just the fundamental nature of reality, from a philosophical point of view, has always been just an interest to me as long as I can remember. Plus, I guess my affinity with the mathematics led me to study math and physics at UCLA. I was part of the quantum computing research group there. I worked with medium energy nuclear physics research group at UCLA as well. I worked at Brookhaven National Laboratories for a couple summers on their particle accelerator. I think since learning about Camelot in 2008, I've come to see how intentionally off track academic physics was. I held it in very high regard when I was studying it, but I think a lot of technologies have been suppressed, I think now to our detriment. And I think physics and technology go hand in hand, so it's it's an honor to be able to explore this, and I feel like I would be learning more from the whistleblowers and the leaked science from the black projects than I could learn in graduate school at this point. So I'm very happy to be able to explore this physics with people like Mr. Keshe. So thank you, Kerry.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Could you give a few words as to how you've been working with Paul Laviolette, just for everyone's understanding?
Yeah, I first heard about him in your 2009 interview when you and Bill interviewed him in Athens. And I was very intrigued. I contacted him, and he's one of the rare researchers that has actually built up a fundamental theory, like an actual mathematical and physical model called subquantum kinetics. And there was some hypotheses that he's made in the early 80s, late 70s on just the fundamental structure of elementary particles, basically as solitons in a reaction diffusion system, which I can get into at some other point. But I was able to do computer modeling of this and confirmed yet another one of his predictions. And so this is one paper that we've been working on, and it's currently being reviewed by a British journal.
Okay, thank you very much. Keshe, so basically we want to focus on you, obviously, and what we wanted to find out was what is your relationship with the government of Iran at this time? Is this a friendly relationship, or did you have to break away in some kind of fashion, political asylum, whatever it happens to be?
I left Iran as a teenager. I do not take part in politics. I lived in Europe for over 30 odd years before I went back to Tehran. I collaborate on the space technology part with Iran, the same as I did with the Belgians. So I collaborate with any government where we see we can take the technology a step further into the space technology which we are working on. I have a lot of respect for the Office of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad in allowing new technologies to appear, and they support them thoroughly. Scientific organizations in Europe do not get these kind of supports the way some of these governments work. I have no affiliation. The Keshe Foundation is not connected to no government. But as I said, we work with any government which advances our technology. I would like to thank the Office of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad for facilitating the huge stage step in the development of what we call gravitational magnetic field reactors, what we call space technology. And it has to be known that Iranian scientists are far, far, far ahead advanced than is believed or is made to be believed in the West. Iran, when I left Iran as a teenager, there were 80,000 seats in the universities, and most of the lecturers were foreign lecturers. With my surprise, when I went back to Tehran in 2008 by the invitation for development of space technology, Iran has some 3.5, 4 million university seats. That is a huge leap. If you can make, even if you can imagine manufacturing 3.5, 4 million chairs, let alone accommodating an increasing capacity of universities, they have done a huge and marvelous job. But these scientists in Iran are self-taught. There are hardly no literally overseas or outside lectures in the universities. And when I came out, there were 80,000 seats in the whole of universities in Iran. That's why we Iranians came out in the 70s and 80s, because there was no capacity in university. And now Iran has 10,000 foreign students studying in Iran.
I see.
So if people try to connect us with the government, we are not connected to no government. But as much as I work with the Belgian authorities for development of all research in part of my technology, I've done the same with Iran. We offered the same technology to NASA. We have offered the same technology to the Chinese and to the Koreans. So we are not attached to nobody. Everybody is doing their own job, and what we learn, we pass on.
Okay, and about what you learn, you are learning about the capability of plasma physics, plasma reactor. Is that correct?
No. In a way, yes. In a way, no. I am of the old school of nuclear reactor development. My actual degree is in reactor technology development. So I understood from the early years in the nuclear industry, from start to the end of process of building, loading, and literally putting a nuclear reactor together. I worked for a short time for British Nuclear Fuel, and I was disappointed in what I saw in England. Plasma technology, which I've developed, is for space. We have nothing to do with uranium, plutonium. I only work with plasma. This is a misconception which is in the West, that I'm an Iranian nuclear physicist and I work with the Iranian government. I work with the plasma technology, and my goal from the age of 10, 12 has been space. So the whole object of the exercise of my life has been to find a way, the way the universe works, not the way we've been forced to accept. As I always say in all my talks, we don't see any wings on the Earth or any other planets, and we don't see any jet engines attached to them. But they've been working and moving and creating energy for billions of years. I set out to understand the concept of the motion and energy production the universal way, not by the way we burn fuel with the rocket propulsion motion or with power generation in burning, God knows, gas, oil, or whatever. We don't see Earth, it gets tanked by any outside matter. Earth and all the planetary and the structures in the universe find their motion and position in respect to each other through magnetic field interactions. So we have developed a technology which works on the universal basis, not on what has been forced, and as Matt said, through peer controls and all sorts of forces, the reality of science has been kept away from public. It's very interesting, some of people know who read my books, is that peer review is a way of control of transfer of knowledge, and to whom it suits at the point of suiting. One of the reasons I left England, and I will never hopefully return to the country after 30 years of living there, was because of Mr. Stephen Hawking, the eminent scientist. I sent, as Matt said, he's got his papers in British journals waiting to be published. I submitted a paper called The Creation of Black Hole in 2004. After 3-4 months, I received a letter from the Royal Astronomical Society, one of the most reputable journals in England regarding space, or what they call it, cosmology. I received the letter dated the 7th of July, and I received the letter on the 8th of July. And in this letter, it says from the society that my paper will not be published, but it will be kept in the library of the society. And I received the letter on the 8th, and if you just type in front of you 8th of July, you find that that day Mr. Stephen Hawking announced that after 30 years he's changed his mind, that black holes do leak matters or rays or whatever. This was raised and was put in my paper. That in my paper I said that black holes do produce and release radiation. And coincidentally, the day I received the letter, he announced that he's changed his mind after 30 years. And I found this a bit puzzling. I went to Cambridge to see him to ask why such a fraud has taken place. He was not available. I was told this is the normal procedure with peer reviewing. So I did not say anything. And in a book which we have published, the last book, which is called The Origin of the Universe, I put the original paper and the letter from the society in the book, that what we are saying is correct. So in a way, and in the page 151, I say it's very coincidental. The eminent scientists in the black hole, which is peer reviews most of the black hole papers, announces that they are receiving about too many coincidences. So in a way, we understand the physics of the universe, or we try to understand the physics of the universe and how motion is created in the universe. And we have developed the initial systems after understanding the structure in early 2000. And then the final lift and motion was completed more or less in Tehran. And after 4.5 months, I returned from Tehran. And thanks again to the Office of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad, they gave me all the systems which I built in Iran. They said you can do more with it there. We have a copy, we do what we like. And we follow the procedure. Now we are much more advanced. The system creates its own motion, its own lift, its own magnetic field protection. And I returned for the second time from Tehran on 21st of January last year. And 6 weeks later, we received, or it was announced publicly, that Iran has a spaceship program. SSP, or a spaceship program, is creation of motion through magnetic field interaction. You do not burn fuel anymore. Burning of the fuel, rocket propulsion, is over. It's clearly over. And secondly, we showed the reactor physically on 3rd of December in Ghent, in Belgium, to an audience of over 100 people in a closed environment that we could control, that nothing gets leaked out. We showed the video of the reduction.
Okay, my understanding, one moment, please. My understanding is the byproduct of this plasma physics is electricity, and that you can power electricity as much as as you need. Is that correct?
Yeah, the thing is, you have to understand the way you look at electricity and power generation and the way we look at the electricity and power generation. We have got into the habit of what I call dynamo system, where we create a rotating magnetic field at the end of the rotor, and we put it in a copper coil and we generate electricity. This is a normal concept of power stations at the moment. Doesn't matter. Prior to rotation of the rotor, the turbine, the steam generator, the burning of the fuel, it's all to create this rotating magnetic field. That's all it does. All this damage you're doing to the planet is to create this rotating magnetic field underneath of the rotor. But in fact, if you look at Earth, Earth has a magnetic field and it's dynamic, it's rotating. So in so many ways, we don't need to burn fuel. If we can create a motion, or we can break into the plasma and use the magnetic fields which are within the structure of the plasma, then you have unlimited source of energy. You do not need even the rotation of motion of a magnetic field. In so many ways, that's how the power supply systems which we will deliver this year will be. Very simple. We have learned the misconception is that whenever you touch plasma, you create a lot of heat. Whenever you hit or interact plasma, is what they call the fusion technology, you create a lot of heat. But in reality, you don't. We see it every day. If you know how to open a reactor, if you know how to open a plasma, if you know how to manipulate the fields within a plasma of a proton, the proton has a life, let's say, of a hydrogen, has been here for 5 billion years. They say there will be another 5 billion years when the Earth is here. So for a proton to be tangible for 5 billion years, it has enough energy internally that when the fields in a strength reduce enough, they become tangible to us as human beings. So if you can break into this plasma and use part of this magnetic field, which is going to be for another 5 billion years, then you tap into a massive source of energy and a massive source of magnetic field. That's where the breakthrough comes in. That's where we don't do free energy. Free energy is a concept for the people who do not understand. This is what I say always in my talk. The people who talk about the free energy are the magicians who don't tell you the whole truth. The rest of the thing is in their pocket. But what we are straightforward. We say we work with the plasma. We have learned what we call a plasma dilution technology. It's patent already out, and it's in the books. I explain it in detail. We open the plasma. We use where we need it. We use the material inside it, what we need to use, and then we close it and it's finished. This is one of the reasons that every time I travel through customs, through airports around the world, they go through my systems. They check everything, but they never find any radiation. Because when you open the plasma, when you close it, it takes what is brought out back itself. This is something when nuclear physicists never understood. In a simple way, most of the nuclear physicists, when we talk to nuclear physicists, you ask them about the neutron. They tell you a neutron breaks into an electron and a proton. And you ask, as I always say in my talks, what is an electron? They can't explain to you. They say, we don't know. Electron is something we see. But in fact, as I always say, and I show in my demonstrations, if you have a glass of water and you put a large part of it in one glass and a small part of it in another glass, what is in a smaller glass? The same thing as in a bigger glass. So in fact, electron is a plasma itself, but in a smaller quantity. And then if you take the same knowledge of electron, what is an electron, bring it to a bigger size, call it proton, bring it bigger sizes, call it solar system, make it bigger, make it universe. Therefore, in fact, everything is the quantity in the entity. If you have less of, you become a smaller entity. So in reality,
are you talking about? Isn't this like plasma? The way you're talking about it is the difference between a particle and a wave. Is that correct?
No. I'm not theoretical physicist. I do not do any calculations. I work in the reality of what things are. This has become fashionable because what happened is that we physicists or our colleagues or people in the industry of physics have created so many names to make it so confusing that nobody can understand. As a scientist told me, I write my things in a very simple way, and things have to be made very complicated. If you make it very simple, the simplest way to explain is this. Solar system is a plasma. A proton is a plasma. The universe is a plasma. If we take what we see, let's say the solar system, you have a source center. We call it the sun. And then you have planets and everything else, which is with this plasma. You have the same thing in a plasma of a proton or a plasma of electron. It's the first time we can say, you need a smaller, weaker field, you open the plasma of electron. If you need the stronger fields, you open the plasma of the proton. So proton or electron, a plasma has a source which radiates the fields outward. And when the fields in that environment slow down enough that they are detectable with the human amino acid magnetic and gravitational fields, they become tangible to us. So this is the structure. It's one structure throughout the universe. It's just the amount of fields in the entity. So physicists in the smaller scale call it antimatter. In an understandable way to us human, we call it the sun. Physicists on the larger scale would like to call it the black hole, where the energy comes out of. And then you go further, but in reality, everything is the name of the source. Now, from the point when the fields leave the source to the point they become detectable or tangible to us, according to our amino acid magnetic gravitational field, there is a point of transition from one place, one point to another, from the source to the visibility or tangibility. This gap, or the distance of the travel, it becomes fashionable to be called dark matter, dark energy. Because when the fields do not interact, they do not create any friction. The friction leaves as residual, which the residual, according to our visible amino acid, becomes light. Because there is hardly any friction, so it's dark, the appearance of the dark. So, and then when it becomes at the point when the magnetic field in the strength has reduced, which becomes tangible to us, we call it matter. It's become very fashionable in the past few months. They call it God particle. It's a very interesting subject at the moment. What God particle is that the scientists are looking into the plasma of the proton and watching where a matter appears, and that's where God is created. If you understand what I explained just past 2 minutes, every one of us are God particles. Because we become tangible now. We are physical. So scientists, for the sake of degrees, are doing all these gimmick games. So we are open, there is no gimmick. We are open to understanding more. And so once you understand the structure, a source, a transition time, and for a field to become in a strength that become matter to us, tangible to us, then just change anything. And then you have to understand how these fields interact.
Can I stop you right there just for a moment? Thank you. That's wonderful, and you explain things very, very well. And I think it's quite understandable the way you explain them. Matt, I wanted to know if Matt had any question in regard to what you've said so far. From a physics point of view, Matt, is there anything there that you have a question about?
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, Mr. Keshe, the source of energy which you're talking about, is it fair to describe it as it's like you have a very condensed magnetic field, so to speak, within a proton, but you're able to release this high energy contained within the magnetic field, and that is actually the source of the energy that some people would refer to as free energy. Is that correct?
It's not a free energy, it's a transition energy. And in a way, yes, you have the sun. It's like the way, if you go closer to the sun, we get hotter because there's more energy. You are closer to the source. And that's what we do. We developed a technology which we call a plasma dilution technology, where in the fusion at the present, they create huge magnetic fields, they condense the plasma, they high speed it, and they collide it together, and they hope to achieve fusion. It's like getting a ball, making it tighter, and then hoping to achieve to fuse it together. This doesn't happen. In one book I've written, the fusion with the present thought and the money which is getting spent on it is the dream which will never come true. Reason. We do not have a technology to control millions of degrees of temperature to start with. 7,000 degrees burn the shuttle on re-entry. We are making popcorn and we're sticking it under the shuttle to control the heat. If you go into the fusion phase, creating such a high temperature on a constant basis, where you need oceans to cool the system down, you evaporate every water available. They say we already achieved fusion. Achieve fusion on a long-term basis. It is impossibility. Secondly, when you have such a rapid heat transfer, I would like to know how they're going to get turbines which can transfer such a heat at a constant basis. And how many of these do you need? Fusion is possible if you open the plasma, make the Coulomb barrier. You see, this is it goes back again to the science that they made it complicated for people. They call it Coulomb barrier. Simple word for Coulomb barrier is atmosphere. That's exactly all it is. The Coulomb barrier, the barrier within a proton or electron or an atom, is the atmosphere of it. You can open a small atom or dilute it like putting sugar in hot water and fuse what you like together, then trying to make it harder than fuse two balls, hard balls. So fusion is possible if you open the plasmas and fuse them together in the right way without the heat. That's what we do. That's why our reactors are made of plastic. We don't have, we used to have a steel reactor because we did not understand concept fully alive. All my reactors are made of plastic. It melts with what, 100 degree, 150 degree. So you can do and understand how to control a plasma, and then the rest is a game. There is no free energy. It is to go to the source. In one of my talks recently, I was invited to give a talk in Frankfurt. And in the presentation, the guy before me was showing a battery, measuring the voltage, and he says it's 40 watt energy in the battery. If you put some wires, it goes through a gigamic unit, and then he measures a light bulb, and he says, look, they come and they measure it, it says it's 57 watt. He says, but on the board he puts 40 watt DC, and where the light bulb is, it says 57 watt ACDC. I said to myself, and I said to the organizers, who are you kidding? Why doesn't he tell people that in the battery there's an eddy current, there's an AC inherent in the characteristics of the battery? So all he's doing is taking the ACDC mixture. He doesn't show the 17 watt, which is an AC background eddy current, and then he creates it and shows it as 50%. So I create free energy. I said to him, run the battery for 24 hours and see it still goes free. Nothing is free.
Yeah, I've seen that demonstration.
But the plasma up to the source.
So is there presently a unit working that's using this plasma dilution technology to generate energy?
Yes. I've been working with all this morning because we developed it. What I call the Iranian space technology reactors are what we call generation. And in past 4 years since I left Iran, we have developed it further. We are what we call in the 6th generation, which has allowed us now the reactor we're testing is about 6-7 centimeters in diameter. But you have to understand something very, very important. You have to look at the whole structure of the working of the universe, not one part. Then you will see the similarities and you understand the concept of the physics in totality. What does this mean? Why I can run a plasma reactor with a plastic unit? Because we have learned how in the universe heat and plasma is opened up and in a controlled way. This has been a huge breakthrough in the past 2.5 years for us. What does this mean? There are ways, if you look at I'll give you an example. If you look at the upper structure of the rings of the Saturn, or the pole of the Saturn, you see hexagonal clouds. In the new book coming out, we explain how you see the hexagonal clouds. And if you understand the structure of the hexagonal clouds in the poles of the, what do you call it, gaseous planets, then you understand how we run a reactor on plastic. This is all to do with the advanced stage of the science in nuclear, in understanding interaction of magnetic fields, in discovery which we've done creating solid gases at room temperature and pressure, what we call gas, and in understanding how these matters interact to create such a condition.
So what are the reactants in this reaction that you're using?
We don't use any reactions. What we call a reactor is a common language to use. It's the easiest way people to understand. All we do in these reactors, we open up the plasma. We do not use, let me explain to you in a very simple way. For NASA to payload the shuttle, they use hundreds of thousands of kilos of material. With our reactors, if we use more than a few atoms, the whole thing shuts down.
So what kind of atoms are you using?
Pardon?
What kind of atoms are you using?
We use normal, what do you call it? Any atom which is convenient at the point what we want to do and what we put within the structure. You usually work with helium and hydrogen. And I produce atomic hydrogen at the cost of a few cents. Atomic hydrogen can be created in a very, very simple way. Shown it, it's been assessed and tested by the nuclear industry in Belgium and the financing of Belgian government in assessing one of my developments some 5 or 6 years ago. It's very, very easy to ionize, first of all, change a molecule of hydrogen to an atom and then ionize it. If you want for heavy applications, you go to the plasma of the electron. If you go for a heavier application, you go to plasma of proton. So you have to understand, and these things is experience over 40 years.
Okay, so this is the reaction. Oh, sorry. This is the reaction you're doing in the Coke bottle. Is that right?
Could you repeat that, Matt?
Oh, sorry. So this is the Coke bottle reaction that there's videos of on YouTube. Is that correct? Did we lose him?
What bottle?
Oh, the hydrogen ionization, the reaction that you're talking about. This is demonstrated in the Coke bottle demonstrations that are on YouTube that you've done. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, it's a different way. You can do it that way, but there's
we lost Keshe here.
Okay, so he will, it redials automatically, I believe, but Tommy, you can also try redialing. In the meantime, if I'm still online and people can hear us, we are going to try to get him back, and there does seem to be some interference happening, and I'm sure that's not an accident. We are getting questions, I assume, in the chat as well at this time, right, Tommy?
That is correct. Yes. So, yeah, just working with Keshe.
Hello, I'm here, I'm back.
Oh, there he goes. Okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay.
So I was asking about the reaction of the hydrogen ionization. Is that the energy production mechanism that is demonstrated in the Coke bottle reactions that are on YouTube?
No. You have to understand that we have developed what is called the GANs, what we call gases at a solid state nanomaterial. What this means is that we have developed the technology where we can convert gases at room temperature to solid. This appeared to be, what do you call it, something which a lot of people objected to it. We published a paper and we put it in our second book. What this exactly means is that you can create conditions the same as the human body to convert gases into matter. In fact, as I always say, your body is made of gases. Your amino acids are 4 gases, but on the right condition, they change and they become part of the point chain of your body. Now we understand for the first time how this is done. And in converting gases into solid, huge amount of energy is released, which can be used. And if you know how to use this energy, you can actually produce a lot of plasmas. This is a technology on the edge of science. As I always say in my talks, your amino acid is hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. As a human being, we all should be huge balloons, but we are not. If you press your flesh between your fingers, you see solid matter. This is how, under specific conditions, gases convert to solids without temperature and pressure. This comes from the understanding. That we, for the first time, understand how gravity is created. So when we interact and we create gravity and magnetic field at the same time, we can change any matter or any field to light and to matter and any point in the universe. This is the objects of the Keshe Foundation. We've developed
have you been able to isolate specifically any reaction of this kind to go from gas to a solid that releases energy?
This is done through your body because Keshe Foundation, as I was telling you, is a space program technology. So we have a medical application, which is what we learn in medical, we bring into space, and what we learn in space, we bring into medical, into production of material, into energy, and into food.
So
there is a way.
Keshe, are you saying, excuse me, sorry about this. What I'm trying to clarify the question a little bit. So what Matt is asking is, are you currently doing this, converting gas into matter and using the energy that is created in order to do something?
Yes, we've done, and in a way, we've done this, we gave the material to scientists at the University of Kent. They did the analysis what the material is and whatever that is a CO2 in a solid state is unknown. It's a nanostructure. We have published a paper on it. It's in our book and it used to be on our website. But if you understand the conversion of gases to solid matter, which is your amino acid, releases a lot of energy. Now, for the first time, we understand how the heat in the human body is created. Why our body is 37 degrees on top of our head to the tip of our toe. Because when the energies come and at the point of conversion to matter, they release energy. We've shown this one in 2 or 3 experiments in public, and the paper was published, or an article published by Electro magazine, that we gave it to them to do the independent testing. Now we understand through conversion of gases to solid matter how human body temperature is created. So because we run a battery, we run a light, we run a motor while we're converting. And the beauty of it is that when the technicians or the engineers at Electro magazine, they start loading more and more lights, LED lights into the circuit, the system produces more. So that if you don't need transformers, you don't need transistors. So because the system takes in, so we have answered a lot of questions in world of physics, which is what unknown. On the other hand, you have to understand that matters are collection of magnetic fields. So how do you play with it?
is there a specific reaction? Like, is it something like methane into CO2 or CO2 into something else? Part of the reason I'm asking for specifics is I'm wondering if it's a chemical reaction or if there's a nuclear component to it.
This is a magnetic gravitational reaction. What gravitational magnetic? You see that this is one point which I think we missed to explain to you from the beginning. Why the things we do look strange. This is because for the first time we understand how gravity is created. And all our systems work on the basis of understanding how gravity is created. So I always say in my talks, if you have two magnets, two dissimilar points or poles,
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. I definitely want to ask you about gravity, but before moving on to that, just to be specific, I mean, can you give a specific reaction involving either chemicals or nucleons that actually generates the heat?
No, the thing is, when the gases change their gravitational magnetic field from being a gas to a solid, they release the residual fields which they don't need, and that appears as heat or as energy.
What's a specific example?
CO2. When we get the CO2 which is in the room, and we put it through our system, CO2, which is in the state of gas, appears as a solid at the bottom of our container. Converting the CO2 from a gas to a solid releases a lot of energy. And that is the energy which we show in running a light or running a motor in the experiments test.
So if I understand correctly, this is a
chemical reaction. There is literally additional. Pardon?
I mean, it sounds to me like it's it's what I guess traditional academic chemists would refer to as a chemical reaction, but you're giving a different explanation in terms of plasma?
No, it's a chemical. There is no chemical reaction. This is understanding the material which we use for the conversion. The material which we have developed that does the conversion of the gas to has a specific property which in a way allows the release of the residual magnetic field of the gas which appears. It's a big difference. There is no chemical. You have to understand the way I work and the way I always explain. Life starts, anything starts as a magnetic field. When two magnetic fields interact, depending on their strength that they reduce, it becomes a plasma, becomes physics. And when two plasmas interact, it becomes an atom. And then when two atoms interact, it becomes chemistry. And then three or four more molecules or atoms interact, becomes biology. I work with a field, the essence of origin, where everything starts. So what you are used to, you work with the further down the line. What I work with is a sense of creation. And this is the simplicity of it. When you understand how things is done, how you can create gravity. You see, that the biggest problem in the scientific world, and I always say it, is that if you would have discovered gravity and magnetic field at the same time, we wouldn't have it in this dilemma. Because when you're a schoolboy, they give you a magnet. The two opposite sides interact, they attract each other, they gravitate towards each other. The two similar points, they push away from each other. So we have developed the technology. Earth has the same thing, plasma photon has the same thing. It creates gravity to hold on to what it has, and it creates magnetic field to protect what is holding on to. So our system does the same thing. So you have to understand you created double magnetic fields. Because these are dynamic double magnetic fields, it means they are continuously interacting, attracting, and repelling. They create the atmosphere around them. And this is what we do look so strange. In about 2-3 years' time, in 5 years' time, this science will be like you making a walk. Because people understand the simplicity of it, the truth, the way it is, not the way we've been forced to accept.
Okay, Keshe, I want to ask you if the intersection of, or the interaction of these two, you said double magnetic fields, is that what is creating heat or energy?
No, no. The interaction of these fields creates gravity and magnetic fields, which, if you increase the rate of the reduction, you can use the production or release of the surface field for energy. In a way, in the universe, what Keshe Foundation works on, when we go to space, we don't take food, because now we have learned how to produce material at the point of demand. What this means is that when you open a plasma, where you need so much energy to create a parallel material, you create your material at the point of demand, what you can absorb and what you can release. This is what in our test we couldn't understand, we call it loading. If you don't understand loading, then you find out you start with the gases and then you have materials which you don't. So fields, as they reduce in strength, they become matters. And this is the point of the huge change in the way we've been brought up to think. And if you understand this, then you can take it into the medical application. You can do different things. In a space, you don't need to take food, because now NASA is planning to go to Mars. 22-month trip. Everything has to be calculated. With us, we know how to absorb the fields. We know how to release fields. Then what you convert to the field, it becomes vitamin B, vitamin A, calcium, or whatever. So this is the age of the science, and we are opening it up, and we are learning ourselves. So in aerospace technology, we won't carry food. And in aerospace technology, we won't carry any fuel, because there is enough residual magnetic field in the universe that it can absorb and convert to what we need. So it's a breakthrough in the direction the way the universe works, than the breakthrough that our ancestors saw the bird to fly and put a Chinese firework into space. You do not, when you create magnetic field and gravitational field, you have zones, we know it, and we tested it, and what I tell you is exactly, you have zones which are 1G. You do not need to go through the breakthrough of astronauts to learn to go to space. You can have G zones. We have no exist, and it's been tested fully. The people who have developed that technology further. So what it means, Earth has a gravitational field and a magnetic field, and the zone which is 1G is the surface where we are living. We are used to 1G gravity. You can create with these reactors zones which is 1G. So you don't need to do it's in our cashspace.com. If you go, we say if you want to experience weightlessness with our technology, you have to pay for it, because to create weightlessness, it costs money. Where 1G is part of the natural calculus of any system which is dynamic and possesses magnetic and gravitational fields together. You cannot have a gravity without a magnetic field. Means the field and two fields. When you have a magnetic field on its own, it means the two fields haven't interacted.
So if I understand correctly, your theory of gravity, there's really no separate field of gravity. It's really just an effect of the magnetic field exclusively. Is that correct?
That's it. I've written a paper called The Unifying Field of Theories. In fact, everything is magnetic field. Okay. And when you put two magnetic fields together, then you have the sequences and consequences of matter, gravity, magnetic fields, and the rest.
So I understand from your theory that the center of the sun and the center of the earth both have a kind of special core in which they're able to produce this double magnetic field to produce the effect of gravity. The question is there what's a simple way, or is there a simple way to produce in the laboratory this double magnetic field in order to demonstrate this effect?
We do it every day. I've done it for 50, 60 times since this morning, because we are still looking for answers. We don't have all the answers in everything. So I do run what do you call it, lab tests, and because we learn how to create double magnetic field, it's very easy for us. In the sun, if you look at the sun, the magnetic fields are created due to different layers of plasma as they move over each other.
Okay, so
we used to be told that Earth has a solid core. Pardon?
Would this be rotating? Would this relate to what's called the henge or the Nazi bell, where there's counter rotating? Do you know what I'm talking about? Is this related?
These things, no. I don't know what they're talking about. What it is to outline, you see, let me explain to you what we understand and then we correct it. What we've been told up to now is that the Earth has a solid inner core, and then it has what we call the outer core, where through the convection theory, cools down and the rotation of the inner core creates the magnetic field of the Earth. This is how our ancestors understood dynamo. So they could explain Earth should have such a thing that creates this magnetic field. So you have electrons, free electrons through heat, which they rotate in the outer core, and then through rotation of the inner core, because it's metallic, it creates the magnetic field of the Earth. There is no solid core in the sun. There is no solid core in the plasma of a proton. So we have to think, first of all, there was another theory in the physics, in geophysics, that through blanketing, because the Earth has got so much material on it, it creates the center of heating, the heat in the center. And then recently, in past 20 years, geophysicists speak about geonuclear reactor in the center, where they say due to the nuclear reaction or decay, the heat comes out of the center core, and then that's now we can explain how the heating in the center of the planet is. Then more recently, if you go on the internet and put inner core, the scientists speak that we know from the earthquake data that this solid core has another core inside it. And this inner core, nuclear geophysics says, is plutonium, uranium, which is has gone in the center, and that's where the heat's coming through nuclear decay. But I discovered this core over 15 years ago. I presume it's there. And I call it, as I say, my top Caroline core is in my books. And this inner core is dynamic because it rotates. Even if it was plutonium, uranium, over past 5 billion years of the life of the Earth has already decayed to nanomaterials, different kind of atoms and plasma and everything else. So it's a dynamic liquid, and so the dynamic liquid of the inner core, what we call the Camelot core, with the separation of inner core and the dynamic magnetic double magnetic field, which we've been looking for. So we developed a reactor, a copy of what we assume to be, and it's correct. That's why we can live. When a scientist tells you we are making anti-gravity, I always say in my talks, put a big something. He has not understood the whole thing with this, because if two tools, there is no rocket engine, there is no propulsion in the other one. It's magnetic field finding their position in respect to each other. So in our systems, we create a magnetic field, which is the strength, according to the magnetic field, the strength of the Earth, it pushes you away. And then when you increase the gravity equal to Earth, it brings you closer. In the test and the systems we develop, we do not go round and round like the way the shuttle does to get.
Yeah, Keshe seems to have bandwidth issues on his end, so this is why the audio is somewhat muffled at times and also keeps dropping. So let's hope he comes back.
Okay, it looks like we're losing him.
Are you there?
Yes. Okay, it looks like we have bandwidth issues at your end, Keshe.
We're monitored very heavily. It could be something else.
Okay, we understand.
I have one question. So, assuming that there's gravity on the moon, does this then imply that the moon has this special kind of liquid core to produce this double magnetic effect?
You cannot have a celestial object be spherical and do not possess gravity and magnetic field. The magnetic field or gravitational field, which is tangible, visible, we can measure, sits just on the surface or below the surface. And the rest of it, that gravitational, you see what happened? Let me explain to you something very simple. Earth has a magnetic and gravitational field. Moon has a gravitational magnetic field. If we did not have one to pull the other onto itself. So where the two fields find a balance is a distance. It's the same thing between the Earth and the Sun. Where the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth finds its balance in respect to the gravitational magnetic field of the Sun, this is where we are positioned at the moment. And as we go around our annual circle around the Sun, the other planets within the solar system, their magnetic gravitational field dictates our path too. So what we've done, we created what we call another moon. But with this moon we control the strength of the magnetic and gravitational field. So we move on further, closer, or where we want to be in respect to the Earth. But the interesting with this technology is that for you to go to the moon, you don't need to burn any more fuel because you create the matching gravitational magnetic field of the moon, you get attracted to. NASA calls it the slingshot effect when they want to use the satellites or projectors to go out. But that is putting things in the hand of God. With this technology we control. So for us to go to moon and to Mars, it's a direct motion, attraction and repulsion. And we have tested it, and very soon it will be shown. And in past few months, the effect of this technology effectively has been shown.
Okay. Let me ask you. Are you aware of that? This makes interstellar travel possible. That's correct.
What you have to understand, this is a matter of next 10 to 15 years with this new discovery. It's not beyond my lifetime and your lifetime, because already tests have been. That's one of the reasons that Keshe Foundation Medical is going so strong, because our body is made of magnetic fields, our brain is made of magnetic fields, our brain works through interaction of the fields, and our system creates magnetic field and gravitational field for its positioning. And we have seen in tests where the magnetic field, gravitational field of the system interacts with body and creates all sorts of problems. One of them being coma. That's why we're on a test on bringing coma patient back to learn if somebody goes in coma, how we can bring them back. I cannot wait 20 years for my pilot to come back. I have to be in position to understand how it happens and do it. And in 2009, we brought a girl, which in Belgium, says she's mentally dead, in a coma, grade 3, and they were going to switch the machine off. We brought her back to life within 24 hours. Now we got better. We can do it within 2 to 3 hours. We offer this technology to the Prince of Holland, which is in coma, and we are waiting for past 5 weeks for an answer for royal palace. We offer the same technology to Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel. Our knowledge knows no religion, no country, no boundary. So we offered it, and it's there on the table because it's done through the natural process of the body. We understand why and how. When you look at the Keshe Foundation website with the MS, you see people who haven't walked for 5 years, they're walking. Is the way we understood the structure of the protein within the neurosystem. Amino acid is made of the 4 elements: hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. When you take an X-ray or MRI from the neurosystem of MS, the first thing the doctors, they tell you how they know you got MS is because your nerve system goes grayish in color, especially heavier on the upper part of the neck, where it goes to the brain. And if if you ask them why gray, they can't explain it. For the first time, because we developed a nanotechnology, we can explain why gray. Carbon, when it changes from a gas to a solid in the body, the way I explained we developed, it takes two positions structurally. If it takes a crystal position, it becomes the best insulator we know. It's diamond structure. That's why our neural system is isolated and insulated from each other. When, through stress or pressure or whatever changes, the same carbon changes the structure, it becomes graphite. It becomes the best conductor we know. We use it as a brush in the motors. So that's all is happening. Now we understand. Now we know how MS is created. There is what the doctors say, myelin as the disappear that causes MS. This is a lot of rubbish. All it happens is that the carbon within the amino acid as a nanomaterial changes the structure from diamond to a graph, and that's all it is. And what we do with the technology we develop, we allow the body to do the reverse. Walking, talking, eating, and the rest of it is a consequence of understanding this simple change in the structure of the carbon in the amino acid of the body. And that's why when you see, look at the MRI, it's gray, because it's correct. It's the graphite. It used to be a diamond, it used to be transparent. Now it's become an S, it's become graphite, it's black, so it shows black, gray in the neural system. And that's all it is. And this is how we learn more and more.
Let me ask you a question, Keshe. Let me ask you if you are using crystals then in space flight.
What is crystal? I can't hear you.
You say it becomes a diamond is a crystal, right?
No, diamond structure.
But that's a crystalline structure, no?
No, you call it crystal structure, diamond structure. Any material can become a diamond structure. Even a copper has a diamond structure. That's why when we developed, we converted copper into diamond structure. We took all these materials to diamond bourse in Antwerp, and they tested it. And they said these are diamonds. The machine, the electronics, all says diamond. But in fact, it's not diamond. It's a diamond structure. It's the way the crystal or the material, the atom, positions itself with respect to the other matter in its environment. And this happens because of the magnetic field. So when you get a stress, you position the magnetic field of the single atom in your amino acid. So conductor resist a conductor, you get MS. And this is the consequence of will happen in the space for us very frequently because people do the same.
What I want to ask you is, when they look into a lot of UFO technology, they say that they use crystals in the center of the technology. Are you familiar with this?
No.
No?
We create UFOs every time we run a trial.
I'm sorry?
I cannot hear you, Kay. I can see your lips moving. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
Okay. You have had interaction, have you not, with UFO technology?
We create UFO technology. We don't have interaction with it.
Okay, but you have you dealt with UFOs?
We create systems. Let me explain to you what UFO is to us. I explained to you that we can create and control the gravitational and magnetic field of our system. When our magnetic and gravitational fields of our system comes in touch with the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth, the interaction of the four fields together releases light. And any system which uses gravitational technology or gravitational and magnetic fields and what we call magra, it is inherent that in its interaction, in its motion, will create light. You call it UFO. We call it, it's a natural phenomenon. When the magnetic gravitational field of the sun leaves the sun and it's on its way to the earth. When it comes on the upper layer of atmosphere with stronger gravitational magnetic field of the earth, the residue is daylight. That's what happens. That's how daylight is. Daylight doesn't just appear. Whenever we face directly the rays of the sun, gravitational and magnetic field of the sun, in interaction with gravitational and magnetic field of the earth, it's like rubbing a hand creates the heat. It releases residual magnetic field because, in my book I explain, even light is a plasma. So one pulls, one field pulls, the other one pushes together. The residue is light. We don't get light from the back of on the earth because there is no way interaction. The same thing happens with our system. In Earth atmospheric conditions, the magnetic gravitational field of our system, when it passes the boundary of the system, interacts with the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth. The consequence is light. We call it the bright light. SSP program, which is heavily followed and developed by the Iranian government, has its conditions. It's invisible to radar. Let me explain to you something very simple. These systems are dynamic magnetic fields. A dynamic magnetic field is like a dishwasher. It's like a washing machine. Whatever comes in, it gets absorbed in. They are invisible to radar. So what it does, radar comes in, it gets absorbed in. So at the same time, there is nothing going back to the radar. You and I see the light. We see the object. We see an invisible light in the sky, but the radar says there is nothing. And the people use the radar instead of their eye. So if, and I say in my books, life and intellect is not exclusivity of Earth. If you understand how the process of creation is, we are not the only creatures. Happens, intelligence and life support is the same. So if there are other creations in the universe who came to understand what we understand now in Keshe Foundation, they have moved on. We tried, our ancestors tried to copy the bird and the shuttle, or what we call rocket technology, but if we didn't have it and we looked inside, we see everything moves, and they had the intelligence to understand how things move, they already used this technology. Now we come to understand to use it. We call it UFO, I call it the bright light in the sky. What we call it now is the SSP, the spaceship program. And this technology, this knowledge does not belong to Keshe Foundation, does not belong to the government of Iran, does not belong to the government of America. It belongs to all of us for the development and improvement of humanity. The ones who want to make it exclusive is the ones who want to abuse it. And it will be very nicely open that nobody can abuse it. Very soon we make a move, and the move has already been made to protect that the knowledge will be transferred to all the governments, to all the nations at the same time. We have invited every nation on the table on Saturday this week. And all of them, most of them refuse to attend because they know what's there in the pocket.
They refuse to attend?
Yes.
Why?
You know what it means? You have to restructure everything. But on the other hand, you need the energy, you need the space program. We invited, pardon?
You say that they're afraid to attend, in other words.
No, I'm not afraid. In a way, they do not know how to react. Afraid is the wrong word. The problem is you have to understand there's a huge problem with Keshe and this technology. First of all, a collective of huge amount of new knowledge has come on the surface at the same time through the foundation, which is on the basis of the way universe works, not the way the firework of the earth works. Secondly, the founder and the guy who's done most of the discovery is Iranian passport holder. And now to be an Iranian, you cannot be a scientist. And this is the problem. If I would have held the Belgian passport, an American, I would have been given 10 Nobel Prizes. We know. We've been told. Yeah? So the only difference, the only problem is the color of my passport. And I have to tell you something very simply. Our passport, the color of our passport, within the next 12 to 18 months will be irrelevant because Somebody in New York can be in Tehran in 10 minutes. It's been tested. It will be shown very soon. I can tell you references in the news which people miss. The American system, which was landed by Iran a few months ago, has used the technology. The technology, because when you create magnetic gravitational field which goes beyond the boundary of your craft, it means there is no resistance. There is no matter to matter. It's field to field. Their speeds are beyond the speeds which we are used to. And we tested it, it will be shown. That's the reason we called in for this presentation, that people to come and see and understand.
Well, I actually thought perhaps this would relate not just to space travel, but actually travel around the planet. So there's, you're talking about this attraction, repelling and attracting that would send us, you know, to the moon or to Mars or back. Then by the same principle, you could send a body, be it a human being or a plane or whatever, should be attracted or repelled from places, right? With different gravity, different magnetic fields.
In a way, we done it and we do. And it's the test which is done. You have to understand something very simple. The knowledge we gathered up to now is the very first steps of a child who's just learning to walk. It's for the rest of the humanity to pull together to bring the rest of the knowledge together. We all have a limited lifespan. I put as much as possible correct in the basic foundation of the science, and now it's scientists like Matt and the others who are ready to prepare to open it. But there is a very big problem, is that I have a lot of respect for the governments for what they are doing, they are correct, is that there are a lot of lunatics who will abuse this knowledge. So we have to sit within the structure of the government to protect ourselves in reality from the hand of the people who abuse it. It's not that all the governments are wrong. The American government, His Excellency President Obama, is not there to be for the sake of being. There's a lot of protection to be done. My technology is if abused, it can do a lot of harm. It's a knife which cuts both ways. Yeah? So
yes, I understand. Okay, very, very interesting.
Energy talks has to be in line, in parallel, that does not disturb the economical structure of the world, at the same time allows us to move in the new era of science.
Okay.
Well, one question. I understand that you have actually demonstrated an anti-gravity device that actually lifted you physically. That you have that there has been an anti-gravity device built which actually lifted you. I think you mentioned this.
Yes. I was the first guy when it happened because I couldn't understand it, so I tried to sit on it. So it's one of the things we do scientists. Now we get excited, we forget everything else. The logic goes through the way.
Are there any plans to release a video of that to the public?
We will release the full. We show the system and part of the video of the wage reduction in Ghent in 3rd of November, December this last year. 4 months ago, we showed the first weight reduction videos which we took from the lab. In a very short time, we were ready to show the first flying car in Eindhoven on 20. We were blocked to do so. My what do you call it? Part of my system was sealed by the nuclear inspection and what do you call it? The police. So in time, we will show the things when we feel safe enough to do so. And secondly, I agree. If I show the anti-gravity, I will not be able to live where I live at the moment. I already have enough problem where I live. You have to understand that crazy people. There's a guy called Kumaran, started a thing on the website called cashscam.com. And all the entries from him, he goes on a different name. He's created himself under a different name to give himself credibility. And he says, unless you don't give me the technology of the space technology that I can negotiate with the aliens, he calls himself the foreign minister of the earth. When these lunatics are there, we have to watch what we are doing. And there are a lot of them. There are a lot of people who like to fly to.
I mean, why is it that you're talking about these technologies and describing them, but not videotaping them? What's the basic difference?
We show the CO2 conversion in Eindhoven live. We show the new absorption of the energy from what do you call it, from space into a battery live. We show the CO2 itself while it was getting produced while the audience were present. Other than their own breathing. We have shown to Boeing International. They were invited for the 21st, they refused to come. When NASA is invited, we're still waiting for. This afternoon, we received the confirmation from American Embassy that they do not have anybody to attend the meeting. So there are a lot of people, by attending, they have to accept a lot of eventualities, they have to do something. But in fact, there was one big problem, is that I have released a lot of papers, I have released patents which are in public domain, so they moved too late to stop me from doing things. By the time they realize what's in their hand, it's too late. So it's a matter of collaboration and cooperation that we can bring the technology in the right way. When
Okay,
I was arrested, let me explain to you something. When I was arrested off the plane in Toronto 2 years ago, June the 8th, the officer had hold my file in his hand, said, I've been studying your site for 3 days to become a nuclear physicist. And then when they kept me, they interrogated me for 18 to 20 hours a day, and then they released me back to Belgian custody. The Prime Minister of Canada had to sign my release papers. Not a worry. We are not, they all know what is coming. They're just delaying the inevitability. The availability is that the technology in full, in the space, is in the hand of the Iranian government. They announced it last year, 8th of March. They showed this operation by capturing the plane off mid-air in December. And very soon, the full potential of this technology will be shown beyond imagination. If you go on my website, I've written, Iran will go to space, but will never land on the moon. This is to do with a religious reason. And secondly, Iran will show its full potential of space technology. Let me tell you what is sitting in hand, which a lot of people will have to understand. Any move, any government, any nation who has access to this technology can abuse it. So when everybody has it, nobody can abuse it. And that's what this conference is about. That's why we called out other nations to come in. Let me explain to you something very simple. You do not understand what has been published in the press about the capture of the plane. If you understand how and the way it's done, runways full of F-16, aircraft carriers on the high seas will become museums, because they will be there, but the system will not work if somebody decides to use magnetic gravitational technology in a whip-up action. This means from a distance, you can literally electronically make the systems that they need total rewiring. So crafts will be crafts. You can show hundreds of them, but there'll be toys, there'll be museum pieces. They cannot even move 1 inch, because the way I told you, you can convert gases into solid. You can do the same thing with microchips on board of these planes without even moving. This is why peace talks and the direct peace talks at a high level needs to be done. And this is why the technology now is in the hand of a very safe government. The Iranian government is very safe. They've had the technology for 4 years, they have not abused it. They said they have it, but you have to understand, when you can create magnetic gravitational field, you can play God's game. Now you decide what you want to good or a bad one.
Keshe, thank you very much. That's really wonderful, and you seem to be quite an enlightened, aware individual, and I thank you for that. I want to say though that what you're talking about is possibly also reason why the U.S. and Israel are talking about going to war with Iran. This may be the real reason, perhaps, for the talk. And I am wondering whether or not you were sort of involved in the capture of the drone. In other words, did they do this without you? Or did you help them?
Technology used for capturing is very simple. You can I spoke about this to happen on the 11th of September, and it happened in December. In my interview, I explained such a thing will happen to demonstrate the capability of the technology. The reason is these crafts are controlled by several satellites at the same time, and these crafts travel at high speed, high altitude. When you put a magnetic gravitational field system over them, it blocks everything. As I explained to you, absorbs all the fields in. So the system could not even get the instruction of self-destruction. This is how capable these technologies are. This is how the future is if you want to capture material, if you want to destroy. We did not develop the defense technology for man to use it this way. The defense technology was used in the space when you got high speeds and you got a meteorite ahead of you. You cannot shoot a rocket to it at the speed you're going over the speed of light. To shoot a rocket which is going 2,000 or 3,000 kilometers is a joke. So you have to develop the technology which is faster than the speed of light, and we've done it, we know what it is. So we developed to save man in space. How man uses it on Earth is their problem, not mine. I don't lose sleep if my system is used to damage somebody or to help somebody. But I care, I hope nobody will be hurt by my technology. But on the other hand, these capturing, these things are done for us in space. We produce the black material which absorbs minutest rays, it changes it to light. We convert the light to food in space. We have shown it. This is exactly how the rays of the sun come to there. It changes to matter, becomes vitamins we eat. Now, this material, we announced it, it's been tested and done 6 years ago. 8th of November this year, NASA announced they have discovered a black material which can absorb the spectrum. I called NASA boys. I said, boys, we already passed this. We produce light with this. We produce energy with it. Oh, no, we don't talk about it. Do you know how they developed it? We put a pattern in. They followed our pattern, which is not published. So, stealing.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Are you aware of the black projects, what we call black projects, above top secret?
It has to be. Every government has to have it. It has to be. Public do not understand most of the inventions which are going on. It has to be. It's the right of every government. American does it. The Iranian does it. The Russians do it.
Okay. But what I want to know is, do you acknowledge that there has been a secret space program that has been using technologies like this, maybe even your technology, already for 50 years? Is this possible?
Of course. I think what we've done is just the Keshe Foundation has broken the taboo and has come out with it before they could get hold of it. This is where the problem is. I don't think I have a lot of respect for the scientists at NASA, and I have a lot of respect for some scientists at the Black Project's DARPA. Yeah, they are not. They are working very hard. We're all scientists. We're all part of the same community. But it's a matter of who's done it first. When we finish with who's done it first, who's the best student in the class, we're all best. Then we work like brothers. And this is what the Keshe Foundation is trying to achieve. And if we can achieve that, we achieved a big milestone.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Let me ask.
Go ahead, Matt. You may ask your question, and then we're going to start taking questions from the audience. We do have limited time. We've been going for an hour and a half here approximately, so we have about 30 more minutes to go, a little bit longer possibly. But then we will, for the next 30 minutes, also need to take questions from the audience. So go right ahead, Matt.
Okay. So, Mr. Keshe, you said you didn't want to release, or you're very careful about releasing the physics and technology because you don't want a lunatic to get a hold of it. But, I mean, just my own opinion, it seems that the lunatics already have it. I mean, they're the ones that are controlling the major governments, and it seems like the equilibrium would be to give it to the people, to just release it publicly. And there's enough scientists around that would start. Yes, go ahead.
The technology is already in the hand of people, but they're blind, they don't see it. We released the technology over 4 years ago. It's in public domain. It's just that you do not know how to use it. The only difference is the ignition key, how the process starts. Only people, the only government who has the ignition key is the Iranian government, because it was set there and they're doing it and they're doing it perfectly. So don't say it's in public. It's in public. It's just that people are so greedy they don't see it. Sometimes I sit and watch. It's under your noses. It's been published. We have developed and we have set up a special way that if I'm killed tonight or if I die tonight, it happened last night off the horse, I nearly died. I broke 10 ribs. Yeah? This technology will not be buried. The technology is well safeguarded, and funny enough, the European Patent Office has published it. So it's in public domain. It's just, you have to understand how to use it. And I always say, technology has to go collectively through the governments, not through individuals, corporations. Then it becomes the same thing, Boeing and Lockheed Martin and European Space. What about the Africans? Why should they suffer? Why shouldn't they be in the same level as the rest of us? Why not Chinese? Why not the Koreans? Huh? This time around, there will be no difference. We all go equal together. And I'm very sure of that. And I'm sure very soon it will be that way. So
Okay,
this is
let me ask you.
I don't know where to look.
Keshe, also this technology is supposed to be able to desalinate water. That means you can create clean water very easily. Isn't that right?
This is the genetic field of the
Okay, you are breaking up. Could you start over?
Could you salt water out and the rest of it? Before it becomes a salt in the sea, if you understand the structure of the planet, understand the how to create gravitational magnetic field of the water, you do not to go through this.
Okay, I think that this question, obviously governments don't want this information out, but desalination of water is dynamite, because water is going to be the most precious resource we have in the next few years. And they have this plasma technology.
With this technology,
yes. You were breaking up. We lost you. Can you repeat? Can you repeat?
With this technology, yes. With this technology, you can have as much water as you need at the point of demand. You don't need to wait for the rain to go in the sea or go underground. You take moisture from the air direct. There is no need for boiling and all that game. Now we understand gravitational magnetic. The water has its own gravitational magnetic field. So in our system, we create gravitational magnetic field. You get the most purest water you want, and you collect it. We've done this. Iran produced protein from fresh air. I was told I'm crazy. They could not understand why there was so much grease in the system which was supposed to be. I couldn't explain to them. Air is nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. If you know how to bring and understand the advanced technology which we have access to now, you can create protein anywhere in the universe. So the water is very simple. You create gravitational magnetic field of the water, the way you now absorb what you like in the magnet, Now we have the knowledge to make a magnet of any element, any material. You want gold, you make magnet of gold. You want hydrogen, you make magnet of hydrogen. We have shown this, and it's very simple. This is understanding the next level of nanostructure in the universe. We are used to atoms, or we made something, we called it atoms. But the universe works differently. It works on single atoms, single gravitational magnetic field. And if man understands this principle, you want aluminium to build the Empire State on the moon, you don't carry material from the Earth. You use the magnetic field within the moon structure, you create as much aluminium, as much wood, as whatever you need at the point of demand. We've done it, it's not theoretical, it's been done several times for different materials. We do not understand the full structure yet. We need scientists to collaborate to understand more. When it goes over 2 or 3 atoms mixture, we do not have the knowledge, or we do not have systems which can create their gravitational magnetic field, or we produce too much of one. So we run a test last year. At the moment, it's in Leuven in Belgium to be tested. We grew seeds in 7 countries around the world. And the first one has come back and now is going for testing. What this seed does, this seed has been treated to have characteristics of gravitational magnetic field that the seed absorbs as much moisture as it needs from its environment, and it absorbs as much nitrogen as it needs to grow from its environment. And the American guy who participated in the trial is on the website. You can go and read on our forum. He said that my wife says the thing is growing wild because it takes what it needs. And the seeds are now back here in Belgium, is getting tested. There are problems with this. We don't know what is the structure of the grain. Is it harmful to man? Is not harmful to man? How it is? How is the grass or the green part of it? The gentleman who's done the test for us in Germany, who sent everything back to us, we have all the package, all the soil, all the grass. Now it's getting tested. This is the beginning of the new development. We managed to grow toes. A lot of people told us, after amputation, you can't do. This is crazy. It's on our website. We understand, we build a system, we put in front of the toe which was amputated. All it does, it changes plasma transfer information which comes from the brain back to the brain. And as far as the brain is concerned, the toe is not cut. So it keeps on growing or replacing old with the new. So we've seen it, it's an observation with doctors here in Belgium and doctors in England. And with a normal amputation, you get a curvature seal at the end of the cut. With this, it's going for a year and 2 months. We still see the full structure of the toe coming out. The bone, the skin, the flesh, and there is no infection because the body is protecting itself as it's going in your head. We've done this with the throat muscles. Now we're running it a test with the cartilage of the hip, that you don't need hip replacement. We don't have such a success with cancers, certain cancers. But this is not because the technology is wrong, it's because we haven't understood the full concept yet.
Wonderful. Okay, fascinating. Like I said, now we will take questions from the audience, and I'm sorry for the limited amount of time. I'm at a location that is not in my normal place. Thank you, Tommy Hansen, the webmaster of Camelot, and we have some other people behind the scenes that are helping to make this possible today. And I want to thank the location where I'm at. I don't want to say it publicly, but I want to thank them for making this possible at my end. And for Keshe being so generous as to go on Skype, violating some of his security protocols in order to do this conference temporarily. So when somebody is asking, let's see, is there a breaking news to be shared at the April 21st conference?
No, it's for governments only. It's for governments to understand the technology, because a lot of governments don't understand the technology. The most of the fear of the technology is not knowing it, so we're trying to take the fear out of it. For them to understand, then they can use it in their countries. We're doing a full knowledge transfer, which means it's never been done before. A technology like this, if it was in hand of, let's say, Boeing Corporation, they wanted $1 billion for it. we are giving the full knowledge to the governments to bring it to their nation free of charge, which means we all go the same. Africa, Middle East, Chinese, Americans, we all go the same way at the same time. It is one thing, fear of unknown, and that's what we're trying to break through on 21st.
Okay, wonderful. There is another question here that's asking if you know something about being on stage for a Nasara announcement. Do you know anything about that?
What?
Yeah, I don't know anything about it myself, but have you? Apparently you don't either. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I don't know what it is.
You don't know Nasara. That's fine. Actually, that's a good thing. What is? Well, this is a very sort of esoteric question, so I think I'm going to move on from that particular question because I think we don't have time to address it. Let me see. How will the annihilation work in a plasma reactor? Does that make any sense?
No.
I don't know. This is what somebody is writing. These are questions they've written. Does that make any sense, that question?
No. This technology is not to annihilate nothing. So whoever thinks that way is one of those crazy ones I was talking about.
I see. Okay. How do you get the start energy of the process?
You don't need the start energy.
Is the source of energy to begin the process. I guess
The source is within the environment. It's just you got nowhere to look for it. That's why we call it the 6th generation of the space reactors. This has been done specifically for third world nations. I used to work out of Africa for years, and I know poverty to the extreme that people die. People walk for days to go to river to catch a dead fish to live. I have witnessed it in my working life in Africa. And I've seen it in Central Asia, and I saw it in Europe when the communism changed in the 80s. And I made sure of one thing. I wanted always to develop a technology that every man in the far corners of the earth will be able to save his own life, be it for energy, be it for food, be it for light, whatever. Why? This will happen to us in space. In space, if you're the last one, you don't want to die. You want to know a way to be able to save your own life, at least live a decent life till your time comes. Yeah? So I developed what we call the oasis system, which means if you understand how to convert rays into food and into energy, you don't need to eat it, no problem. We are already developed this as part of our medical system. So if you have 2 or 3 mobile phones anywhere in the universe, anywhere in the world, anywhere on the earth, be it the back of villages of Africa or in one of the penthouses in Manhattan, you can eat enough not to die. You can generate enough heat to warm yourself, and you have enough facility to be able to move. And this system, what we call the 6th generation, is 2 generations ahead of what the Iranian government has in their possession, and they've shown it. So with 2 or 3 mobile phones, you can create a system that it can guarantee life anywhere on earth. A comfortable life, a decent life. And this has been my target for a space, and now we are in a position, now even this afternoon, about before I come online, I was doing some more tests with the same system. So we see how you can convert rays into food. You have to understand something very simple. They call it B12. You all go and buy B12 to eat. Yeah? B12 is cobalt, it's the radiation material. They never tell you, just go on the internet and just go to B12. It tells you. I understand it. You say, why do you need gamma source? Because vitamin B, or what I call a gamma ray source, is the knife within the length of the body. You want 2 slices, it cuts you 2 slices. You want 4 slices, it cuts you 4 slices. The 2 slices, you call it vitamin A, and the 4 slices, you call it calcium. To me, it's the magnetic field, the amount which you need for certain action. So we developed this technology that if you understand in a simple way and you've got 2 or 3 mobile phones, you can create all the vitamins and all the minerals you need to live.
Incredible. Okay. Let me ask you, is there a relationship here between the people that are becoming breatharians, using the energy from the sun and the surrounding plants and earth in order to survive? Are you aware of those people?
You can do it. I presume our ancestors used to do it because we have proven that the food we eat is about 20% of our total energy need per day. 80% of our daily need comes from our environment. These people are learning how to do without the other 20%. So it's not something which is not real. You have to understand your body is made of plasmas, we call it hydrogen, whatever, and this body is like a Earth or it's like the moon. It's got its own gravitational magnetic field. If you can tune it, that it can absorb from its environment, more than it gives to its environment.
Okay, we're getting some interference here. Okay, Keshe, you are breaking up again. Are you there? Okay, we cannot hear you at this moment. We're having some interference. I think we might have lost him temporarily. Trying to get him back.
It's redialing, so we just have to wait. He's back.
Keshe?
Apparently not.
Are we back? Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Oh, yes.
great.
Okay, you were breaking up there. The last few things that you had to say about this in relation to getting our energy from the environment. Do you want to say those remarks again? Okay, obviously this is a hot topic as well.
Yeah, there seems to be bandwidth issues, so what I recommend is that we proceed to do audio only for the last segment.
Okay, well, let's try that. So I guess I'm not sure. What does that would mean? He has to turn off his video. So let's see if we can get that to happen. Keshe?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, good. We are having bandwidth problems with you, and so we are suggesting that you turn off your video. You stay online with us, but you only talk on audio. Is that possible for you to do? Do you know how to turn your video off?
Yes, I am already off.
Okay, and
yes, go on.
I don't know if that's actually going to help. To be honest, I think he's being he's probably under attack on some level.
This is how we'll figure it out anyway. So let's just try audio only, and we will know.
Okay, fine. Keshe, are you with us? Hello? Tommy, are you there?
I'm here. He's on the call, but the audio seems to be interrupted.
Right. Okay, Matt, are you able to talk?
I'm here. Yeah, just in case, maybe in case he accidentally muted himself, maybe he should try hitting the microphone to make sure there's not a slash through it.
Okay, Keshe, are you able to hear us at all?
It's redialing.
Very interesting. All right. I'm not sure how much longer we can sort of wait. I hope we can bring him back on. Keshe, are you there?
Hello?
Hi. Are you able to talk to us again? Okay, I think we're having some serious interference here. It may be that they finally figured out how to try to shut us down in some more substantial way with technology. They've probably been working on it the whole time. Maybe they're becoming more successful. I don't know. If the people listening will put their energy and some light around Keshe so we can screen out some of the negative energies that are coming towards his location at this time, and then the listening audience has a great deal of power using their mind and their energy. We can try to make this connection a better one. Keshe, are you with me?
Keshe is not with us right now. It's redialing. Your image is also frozen for the record, Curry, but your audio is fine. Matt's been stable.
That's no problem. What we can do is turn everybody's video off and just try to go down to audio so that we can hear everyone. So Matt, if you want to go off, go down to turn off your video. I'll turn off mine.
Okay.
And then they'll just have a still picture. Keshe, have you come back?
Keshe just disappeared. He's showing us online, but it can't dial.
Okay, he's just dropped completely. So he will have to. I think you'll have to call him back this time, Tommy.
Yes, I'm working on it, but right now things are happening that shouldn't happen.
Okay, well, we've got all kinds of interference. Just for the people listening who can hear me, we have had attacks on our server the whole time that Tommy has been also handling, and I'm sure behind the scenes. And we have certain things in place to deal with these attacks now. But just so you know that these attacks didn't just start; they've been going on ever since. Actually, right before the show.
Okay, I'm attempting to dial. Like I said, he's online, as in the Skype status.
Okay, let's. Why don't you try hanging up on all of us and redialing all of us?
I can try. I doubt it will really have any real effect, but sure.
Anything's worth a try at this moment.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. Okay, so bear with me here, guys.
Hi, Matt here.
Yes. Have you, Carrie? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Keshe, are you there?
Still dialing, so I assume no.
Okay, just wanted to thank everyone for tuning into this broadcast. Obviously, it is a really groundbreaking broadcast of its kind, reaching the type of audience that we have to listen to this. He's obviously making great strides in this area and has a very good attitude towards to making it available to all governments around the world. This is very exciting to be part of something like this, and we hope to be able to continue this, possibly maybe even go and travel if money provides itself to travel and and get him on camera as well. Keshe, are you there?
Oh, we lost Keshe.
Okay, again. So it seems that we've got a really substantial interference here. I do believe we've got most of the information out there that he was able to convey in this short period of time to an audience. And obviously, it would be wonderful if we could continue, but we are nearing the end of this broadcast anyway. So I guess at this time we will have to wrap it up. We could try a few more times to dial him. Tommy, are you dialing him right now?
Yeah, well, it just stopped actually, so we need to redial.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay, and while Tommy's doing that, I'll just say that again, we're starting a new website. It's going to be called Blue Science, and it's going to be something of an online magazine. We are taking guest articles in regard to free energy and zero-point energy, plasma physics, you name it, alternative energies of all kinds. We want to start a dialogue between inventors and activists in this area. And Matt will be the editor to some degree, and he will also be contributing articles with his background. Hello, Keshe?
We are back.
Excellent. Okay.
They were interfering with the Wi-Fi line, so we're going to the fixed line now.
Okay. All right. Well, very, very happy to have you back on here. We have some more questions, but you were talking at that time about getting energy for the physical body, for life out of the environment. Right before you were interrupted, you had said many things, but we couldn't hear you. Are you able to go back to that?
We use in our medical technology at the moment what we call environmental factors. We build systems that you sit in it for different diseases, because we have understood in our research over the past 10, 20 years that what we eat as food is only 20% of our total need to live a daily life. The other 80% comes from environment. So we have developed the technology, and some people who understand, and they can change their gravitational magnetic field of the body through use of certain foods or use of certain condition. They can tap into the universal energy source and live without eating. This is very normal. Our body creates its own magnetic and gravitational field, so it absorbs radiation or fields from its environment. So these people are not doing anything out of line.
Excellent. Yes, and I that makes perfect sense. Okay, we have a few more questions here. Have you met any ETs? Someone is asking.
I think every human being is an ET. So I meet a lot of them.
I agree with you completely. Thank you. Very, very good. Good answer. Someone is asking why the moon doesn't spin.
Actually, it does. It's in sequence with us.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Someone is asking if there's actually something to do with the measure of gravity by mass is incorrect, and that the moon should not act the way it does with Earth. Do you know anything about that?
If you read our book, the first and the second book, we have explained how mass is created. Mass is the interaction or the balance between gravitational field and the magnetic field, or what we call protection, what we call atmospheric field. So that's why a body has a constant mass, because its internal gravitational field minus is atmosphere, what you call it is magnetic field as atmosphere is the mass of the body. That's why mass is a constant for one entity. It doesn't matter where it is, because it's internally controlled. So moon has its own mass and creates its own mass, and it keeps its own distance from the Earth. And because its mass is less, it's become a satellite. The same as Earth. Because Earth's mass is less than the Sun, it becomes a satellite. Always the lesser mass becomes a satellite.
Very interesting. Well, I wonder if that also has to do with plasma. In a sense, if we are all plasma. Is that correct?
Of course we are.
Yes. So that principle also applies to human interaction, I would say.
Very much so. The thing is, if you understand, people don't understand a lot of things, and one of them is that we call it the aura. The other word for aura is the atmosphere of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as we eat and consume different foods, and we have different combination of the materials, even we all have 5 fingers and the rest of it, so we create different gravitational magnetic field, we have a different aura, and that at the same time allows us to do all sorts of things. But some people misuse this aura and they make gadgets to make money out of it. But if anybody tells you about aura, tell him, oh, is this my magnetic field or is my atmosphere? So when you interact, you give and you take. And if you are short, you take from the ones who are near you or the bodies which are near you. And if you have too much, you give it. Because that one which is weaker always attracts from the stronger. That's why some people, they have a healing power, they say. You don't have a healing power. It means you create a stronger magnetic field, and the one which is a weaker needs it, takes it from you. So you become the source.
Absolutely. Okay, and that's actually a profound occult sort of principle, you might say. So somebody is asking how long you're planning to live by using your technology for your own health. Does that, I mean, are you planning to?
I have accepted the mission and I complete my mission. And when the time is right, I will go. That is not in the hand of me or anybody else. And secondly, you know, I had a very bad accident last year. It was well known. I fell off a horse. I broke my back and my 10 ribs on one side. I damaged my lung, my liver, and everything else, internal bleeding. And after 14 days from the accident, I gave a nearly 4.5, 5 hours lecture using my own technology. I came out of the hospital after just over 12 days from the accident. And I haven't stopped since. We know how to use the technology for not to suffer, not to extend life, but not to suffer. I had a suspected cancer of pancreas and liver about 3 years ago. I used my technology to not to suffer, not to extend life. I presume man, with the space technology we have developed on the health side and the food side, our next generations will live 300, 400, 500 years. Is not the physicality how long we'll be together, is what you do with it and how you help the others, which counts. Otherwise, there are trees who live 3,000, 4,000 years, and they don't serve any purpose.
Very good. Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you for that. Let's see. And Matt, if you have a question here while I'm looking through the questions to find good questions to ask Keshe, you're welcome to go ahead and ask.
Well, actually, one question. I mean, the usual definition of a plasma is simply, I guess, a set of charged particles absent of their electrons. Do you have a different definition or notion of plasma?
A plasma to me is a source which can give, and when it becomes tangible to the point of observer, that is a plasma. So whatever else you call it, electron, proton, neutron, whatever, is meaningless. The solar system is a plasma, has a source, and when its fields which are coming out of it reduce in a strength enough that they become tangible to man, this becomes the solar system or the plasma of the man. So if, as I always say, if in our amino acid we had potassium instead of nitrogen, we would not see wood in this range of spectrum as it would. We will not see iron the same way. We will not see the same colors. In my third book, which is called The Origin of the Universe, we try to show new colors which I see when I run my systems. We don't see normal colors. I don't see blue or purple. We see a spectrum of lines in the same thing because different fields reduce in strength in different points within the reactor. So we see a mixture of colors. And so we try to do that in our third book. And by accident, the printers made a mistake and they gave us near enough to what I was looking for. And so a plasma can be electron is a plasma, proton is a plasma, Earth is a plasma, solar system is a plasma. It's just that where the field reduces enough in strength and become visible or tangible to the being according to his own magnetic gravitational field. So
okay. By the same principle, though, you could actually explain what some people call ascension or leaving this dimension, which would be if you become strong enough as a force in this way, you would go the opposite direction. You would actually become invisible. Do you agree?
Invisibility is to the eye of the beholder.
Invisible in this dimension, because you say when something becomes.
You see, let me explain to you something. Let me explain to you something else in a very simple way. When material decays, part of them become invisible. They become heat. They become radiation. Do they ascend or do they descend? It's the same thing with the body of a man. When a man dies, or a man can absorb more than, then he becomes visible or invisible. We developed the technology and we tested the reactor very recently, in the past couple of years, where you see the reactor is in front of you, and then it goes invisible. It disappears in front of your eyes, but it's actually there. So all we do, we increase is magnetic field and gravitational field enough to be in balance with this environment. So because it's in balance with this environment, it becomes camouflaged with this environment. So it becomes invisible. But in reality, we know it's there. So which way you're working at. This is part of the new space technology which we are developing for certain characteristics of high speed and protection, which is you certain points who don't want to be seen, or it's necessary not to be on the path. So you become part of the path. You become part of the field.
Yes, I have heard this principle before. Yes, very good.
But we can do it. We've got the physical reactors which they do it.
Okay. Okay. We have somebody asking you whether you created this, I guess, this sort of science yourself, or whether you took it from the Russians, but because that's a rather political question. But is there any input from Russia that you were using?
No.
I guess.
No. This is the input of gradual over 40-odd years of research. I don't read scientists' papers, or I hardly read anything, because once you read other people's papers, they can influence your way of thinking. So not being arrogant, but trying to understand the reality, I do not read this kind of thing, and it's got nothing to. I know about the Russian space work very well. I used to travel into Kazakhstan. I used to have offices there years ago. I'm well versed with the Russian space technology and what they do. They are much more advanced than American in certain ways, but no, I have no contact with them.
I see. Okay. Let's see. Do you have knowledge of stargates and the technology, and I would say also of portals, in other words, natural portals that occur on the planet? And can you describe the technology that's involved in creating a portal?
No, it's a meaningless thing to me, because portal is, if you understand the structure of the motion of magnetic fields, portal is for the people who don't understand the essence of creation. It's a fantasy world. It's for a Star Wars, as I call it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. What a portal is accessing another dimension, moving through space. It's simply a means through which you leave one dimension
I
and
know
go to another.
exactly what it means. I know exactly what it means. And that belongs to the fairy tale stories.
Okay, but do you acknowledge that time travel is possible by the use of your plasma physics?
What do you call a time travel?
Traveling through time and space. In other words, moving either to the future or to the past on planet Earth or that sort of thing.
The thing is, we have developed a technology which we can travel much faster than the speed of light. The speed of light is the restriction of the magnetic gravitational field of human body as it is. You can go above the speed of light when the magnetic field in the matter level cannot go beyond the barrier. That becomes the speed that will become visible to us. So you can go, and it's been tested, you can go hundreds of thousands of times faster than what you call the speed of light. Einstein's theory of m equals c squared, I put it into bed in one simple way, is that when I produce gravitational magnetic field of, let's say, Mars, my mass is constant. The energy which I don't use is the full of the, let's say, Mars. So I can go much faster than the speed of light. So mc squared is a nonsense which Einstein came up with, and he supported it, but in a way it makes some sense because it's in a matter dimension. When you go above matter line, then the speeds of magnetic field are much higher. That's why we have what we call principal matter, and we call it antimatter. So higher levels have their own speed.
Okay, fine. But do you acknowledge that then if you do have that technology to go faster than the speed of light, that also facilitates what we might call travel through time? In other words, that you could go to another time, say earlier.
This is a discussion. There is a scientist in America, a black scientist, who likes to see his father, and is trying to make a time machine. You see him a lot on the television. And if you just use a little bit of common sense, is that a light of, let's say, your face goes in 360 degrees. And it's been traveling with the speed of light or whatever for, let's say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You have to travel faster than the speed of light visible and cross the whole 360 degrees to be able to see the shape of the face, which was 10 minutes ago, let's say. But at the same time, you have to understand, if you understand physics, is that this ray, to get to where you are you're going to observe it, has already lost some of these fields to its environment. So you can never see the full picture. There are bits missing. Quite a lot of it actually is missing. So this time travel that you can see the future, back to the future, it's a very good knowledge, but in fact, in reality, it's very hard to achieve. Because a light or a face or an object, the light it emits, the magnetic gravitational field which emits, it travels spherically 360 degrees. It loses some of its strength to its environment, so it doesn't matter wherever you are. It's like me seeing fuzzy faces. You don't see the whole thing, and sometimes you cannot see it because most of it is absorbed by some particles on its way. So in reality, you can never make a machine to be time travel. It's a very good idea. I would like to see my grandfather, but I don't think he'll have time.
Okay, well, actually, I think that there has been a lot of progress made in this area. Are you aware of the Montauk experiments?
No.
Philadelphia experiment?
No.
Okay. Matt, do you have any questions in that relation to time travel that you would want to ask Keshe? And we're going to have to wrap this up quite soon here, but go ahead if you do.
Not specifically. I mean, it seems like he's describing more of a Galilean space-time, if I understand it. So,
okay. Let me see. Yeah, there are other questions in this regard. Are you aware of Masaru Emoto and the work he's done with water?
No.
Oh, okay. Because he
I'm
shows.
very ignorant. Pardon?
I understand. Well, he shows how mind can affect matter, and he shows it through water crystals. How if you think positive thoughts, water creates beautiful crystalline shapes in it. And if you think negatively and aim it at the water also sort of the crystalline shapes dissolve, and
That is correct.
bad.
That is correct. Because you create gravitational magnetic field, which is of different strength, and we affect our environment. So if there's a water, you will affect the structure of the body of the water. So to my understanding, he's correct.
Yes. By the same token, you can also affect a food. If you go and you pray over a certain food that you're going to eat, and you can actually affect the structure before you eat it. Is that correct?
Most probably. Do you know something interesting, which is very strange, is that we've done a lot of clinical trials, where in a few of them, people could not smell or taste any food. And after a few weeks of what we call processing, for the first time, they start smelling and tasting. So, do we bring the nerves back, or do we create an environment where the nerves can communicate the way they used to, and the person can smell and taste as before? And this was one of the things now we see with MS. A lot of people don't know, like in MS, what we see physical disability outside, I always say, is about 20% of the total disability. A lot of it is internal. A lot of people with MS lose their taste. They see the salt. They don't actually can taste the salt, but they know the taste of it from before. So if you give them without seeing a grain of salt, they won't tell you if it's salt or sugar. So in a way, we do understand what you're talking about, and in so many ways, you can affect your environment to what you eat and change them to be what you like them to be.
Yes, very interesting. Okay, well, there's so much potential there for affecting our world. Thank you so much for your service to humanity, Keshe, for coming on this broadcast with me, and for the people that have been listening and contributing your questions, some of them very, very good questions. I'm sorry if we haven't gotten to your question. There's simply a limited time due to my borrowing some equipment over here to even do the broadcast. And so we cannot continue much longer here. But I want to thank Matt Pulver for coming on, and I also want to thank Tommy Hansen for making this possible technically in the background, and for other people who, I won't mention their names, but you know who you are, who've been helping with the questions in the chat, et cetera, et cetera. Keshe, if possible, it would be lovely to connect with you again in the near future and possibly do another broadcast.
No problem. You're quite welcome. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you
and
very much.
I wish you all the success. I think you need a lot of, support.
Okay, and for everyone, please know, I don't know how you make your money, Keshe, but we also encourage donations to Camelot to make our work possible. But if you have a way to take donations of any kind on your website, please do let us know, because people would be glad to help you with contributing financially to your work, I'm sure.
The foundation has a donation key. You can go directly pay to the bank through PayPal or the bank system.
Thank you very much. That's excellent information, and so I encourage anyone who's interested to donate.
If you want to understand more about my work, I've written 3 books. You can buy it from the website. And very soon, the Keshe Foundation will run programs like this live, that people around the world can be taught at the same time. This is what we call the Keshe Foundation Institute. And we have already opened the center, and we have the auditorium to start mass teaching, that everybody gets taught at the same time. So you all can learn what we know very soon.
That's absolutely fantastic. Okay, well, thank you again for coming on the broadcast. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And we will be back in touch with everyone, and please stay tuned. I do have a radio show. It will not be tonight. Tonight we'll have a rebroadcast of a prior show, but I will be on Friday night with a guest, and that will be announced on Camelot. Thank you very much.
Right, good luck to you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
The screen there. He has begun to work with Camelot. I've known Matt for quite some time at this point, and he is working with Paul Laviolette as well. He's sort of partnering with Laviolette on many papers that they've been writing, scientific papers. He has a background in physics that's quite substantial, and he will be also heading up a new enterprise that we're going to be doing called Blue Science. And this is probably one of the first interviews along those lines. It's going to be concerned with free energy and alternative energy technology. So we will be bringing on a lot of Camelot witnesses who have been dealing in this area, and we're very, very happy to have Keshe here as a physicist or having a background in physics. I guess Matt wouldn't really classify himself as a physicist, and I would like Matt to introduce himself briefly here as well. Matt, do you want to say a few words, and then we'll move on?
Yeah, it's an honor and pleasure to be here with you, Carrie. Just briefly, like I said, I think just the fundamental nature of reality from a philosophical point of view has always been just an interest to me as long as I can remember. Plus, I guess my affinity with the mathematics led me to study math and physics at UCLA. I was part of the quantum computing research group there. I worked with medium energy nuclear physics research group at UCLA as well. I worked at Brookhaven National Laboratories for a couple summers on their particle accelerator. I think since learning about Camelot in 2008, I've come to see how intentionally off track academic physics was. I held it in very high regard when I was studying it, but I think a lot of technologies have been suppressed, I think now to our detriment. And I think physics and technology go hand in hand, so it's it's an honor to be able to explore this, and I feel like I would be learning more from the whistleblowers and the leaked science from the black projects than I could learn in graduate school at this point. So I'm very happy to be able to explore this physics with people like Mr. Keshe. So thank you, Carrie.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Could you give a few words as to how you've been working with Paul Laviolette, just for everyone's understanding?
Yeah, I first heard about him in your 2009 interview when you and Bill interviewed him in Athens, and I was very intrigued. I contacted him, and he's one of the rare researchers that has actually built up a fundamental theory, like an actual mathematical and physical model called subquantum kinetics, and there was some hypotheses that he's made in the early 80s, late 70s on just the fundamental structure of elementary particles, basically as solitons in a reaction diffusion system, which I can get into at some other point. But I was able to do computer modeling of this and confirmed yet another one of his predictions. And so this is one paper that we've been working on, and it's currently being reviewed by a British journal.
Physics, plasma reactor, is that correct?
No. In a way, yes. In a way, no. I am of the old school of nuclear reactor development. My actual degree is in reactor technology development. So I understood from the early years in the nuclear industry, from start to the end of process of building, loading, and literally putting a nuclear reactor together. I worked for a short time for British Nuclear Fuel, and I was disappointed in what I saw in England. Plasma technology, which I've developed, is for space. We have nothing to do with uranium, plutonium. I only work with plasma. This is a misconception which is in the West that I'm an Iranian nuclear physicist and I work with the Iranian government. I work with the plasma technology, and my goal from the age of 10, 12 has been the space. So the whole object of the exercise of my life has been to find a way, the way the universe works, not the way we've been forced to accept. As I always say in all my talks, we don't see any wings on the Earth or any other planets, and we don't see any jet engines attached to them. But they've been working and moving and creating energy for billions of years. I set out to understand the concept of the motion and energy production the universal way, not by the way we burn fuel with the rocket propulsion motion or with power generation in burning, God knows, gas, oil, or whatever. We don't see Earth, it gets tanked by any outside matter. Earth and all the planetary and the structures in the universe find their motion and position in respect to each other through magnetic field interactions. So we have developed a technology which works on the universal basis, not on what has been forced, and as Matt said, through peer controls and all sorts of forces, the reality of science has been kept away from public. It's very interesting, some of people know who read my books, is that peer review is a way of control of transfer of knowledge, and to whom it suits at the point of suiting. One of the reasons I left England, and I will never hopefully return to the country after 30 years of living there, was because of Mr. Stephen Hawking, the eminent scientist. I sent, as Matt said, he's got his papers in British journals waiting to be published. I submitted a paper called The Creation of Black Hole in 2004. After 3-4 months, I received a letter from the Royal Astronomical Society, one of the most reputable journals in England regarding space, or what they call it, cosmology. I received the letter dated the 7th of July, and I received the letter on the 8th of July. And in this letter it says from the society that my paper will not be published, but it will be kept in the library of the society. And I received the letter on the 8th, and if you just type in front of you 8th of July, you find that that day Mr. Stephen Hawking announced that after 30 years he's changed his mind, that black holes do leak matters or rays or whatever. This was raised and was put in my paper. That in my paper I said that black holes do produce and release radiation. And coincidentally, the day I received the letter, he announced that he's changed his mind after 30 years. And I found this a bit puzzling. I went to Cambridge to see him to ask why such a fraud has taken place. He was not available. I was told this is the normal procedure with peer reviewing. So I did not say anything. And in a book which we have published, the last book, which is called The Origin of the Universe, I put the original paper and the letter from the society in the book, that what we are saying is correct. So in a way, and in the page 151, I say it's very coincidental. The eminent scientists in the black hole, which is peer reviews most of the black hole papers, announces the day I received that there are too many coincidences. So in a way, we understand the physics of the universe, or we try to understand the physics of the universe and how motion is created in the universe. And we have developed the initial systems after understanding the structure in early 2000. And then the final lift and motion was completed more or less in Tehran And after 4.5 months, I returned from Tehran. And thanks again to the Office of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad, they gave me all the systems which are built in Iran. They said you can do more with it there. We have a copy, we do what we like. And we follow the procedure. Now we are much more advanced. The system creates its own motion, its own lift, its own magnetic field protection. And I returned for the second time from Tehran on 21st of January last year. And 6 weeks later, we received, or it was announced publicly, that Iran has a spaceship program. SSP, or a spaceship program, is creation of motion through magnetic field interaction. You do not burn fuel anymore. Burning of the fuel, rocket propulsion, it's over. It's clearly over. And secondly, we showed the reactor physically on 3rd of December in Ghent, in Belgium, to an audience of over 100 people in a closed environment that we could control, that nothing gets leaked out. We showed the video of the reduction.
Okay, my understanding, one moment, please. My understanding is the byproduct of this plasma physics is electricity, and that you can power electricity as much as you need. Is that correct?
Yeah, the thing is, you have to understand the way you look at electricity and power generation and the way we look at the electricity and power generation. We have got into the habit of what I call dynamo system, where we create a rotating magnetic field at the end of the rotor, and we put it in a copper coil and we generate electricity. This is a normal concept of power stations at the moment. Doesn't matter. Prior to the rotation of the rotor, the turbine, the steam, the steam generator, the burning of the fuel, it's all.
At this point, we are live, and I think the sound problems are gone. So I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and we're here with Keshe, and he is an Iranian physicist, and he is living in Belgium and has created what is called the Keshe Foundation. He's working on plasma physics, and basically I'm going to let you continue that introduction, Keshe, if you can tell the audience more about your background. I'd like to hear how you came to be in Belgium, and if you could also describe maybe some of the schooling or education that you have.
I was born in Iran. My first 15 years of education was done in Iran. I went to England to carry on with my education. I graduated from Queen Mary College, University of London, as a nuclear engineer in 1981. And from early years in the university, I could not agree with what was on the table from the theoretical and nuclear industry. So I left the industry and carried on with the business to support the development. And in 2001, I knew I have reached a point that I can go ahead with what I was planning, what I was thinking is the right way of handling the physics. And in 2004, I was invited by a Belgian organization which is called FLAG for assessment of the technology. And it took professors from the university some 7 months, a lot of presentation to write a very simple report that this is talking about the space theories and energy production could be feasible theoretically. Then we entered into real development technology with a space company in Belgium, and for some 3-4 months. And when they decided, yes, it's correct, we can produce the gravitational energy system, then we ran into problems for whatever reasons in Belgium, the structure of the political and financial situation is. Then I went separate, and over the past 6, 7 years, we tried to negotiate with a lot of governments to bring the technology out, but we were silenced. And about 2 months ago, we brought the technology to public. And that's why people have started hearing about what we are doing and what's going on with Keshe Foundation. Keshe Foundation is a non-profit organization, and it spends all its money on research and development. My whole purpose is a space technology, and we don't claim anything. We just carry on with what we think is correct, and on the off chance that people think we are all sorts of things politically motivated or whatever, we have nothing to do with any government or any organization. But we collaborate with a lot of organizations and governments to see the technology through. So that is the bottom of it.
Okay, thank you for that. I do want to introduce Matt Pulver, who is joining us. Everyone will see him on. Okay, thank you very much. Keshe, so basically we want to focus on you, obviously, and what we wanted to find out was your relation. What is your relationship with the government of Iran at this time? Is this a friendly relationship, or did you have to break away in some kind of fashion, political asylum, whatever it happens to be?
I left Iran as a teenager. I do not take part in politics. I lived in Europe for over 30 odd years before I went back to Tehran. I collaborate on the space technology part with Iran, the same as I did with the Belgians. So I collaborate with any government where we see we can take the technology a step further into the space technology which we are working on. I have a lot of respect for the Office of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad in allowing new technologies to appear, and they support them thoroughly. Scientific organizations in Europe do not get these kind of supports the way some of these governments work. I have no affiliation. The Keshe Foundation is not connected to no government. But as I said, we work with any government which advances our technology. I would like to thank the Office of His Excellency President Ahmadinejad for facilitating the huge stage step in the development of what we call gravitational magnetic field reactors, what we call space technology. And it has to be known that Iranian scientists are far, far, far ahead advanced than is believed or is made to be believed in the West. Iran, when I left Iran as a teenager, there were 80,000 seats in the universities, and most of the lecturers were foreign lecturers. With my surprise, when I went back to Tehran in 2008 by the invitation for development of space technology, Iran has some 3.5, 4 million university seats. That is a huge leap. If you can make, even if you can imagine manufacturing 3.5, 4 million chairs, let alone accommodating an increasing capacity of universities, they have done a huge and marvelous job. But these scientists in Iran are self-taught. There are hardly no literally overseas or outside lectures in universities. And when I came out, there were 80,000 seats in the whole of universities in Iran. That's why we Iranians came out in the 70s and 80s, because there was no capacity in university. And now Iran has 10,000 foreign students studying in Iran.
I see.
So if people try to connect us with the government, we are not connected to no government. But as much as I work with the Belgian authorities for development of all research in part of my technology, I've done the same with Iran. We offered the same technology to NASA. We have offered the same technology to the Chinese and to the Koreans. So we are not attached to nobody. Everybody is doing their own job, and what we learn, we pass on.
Okay, and about what you learn, you are learning about the capability of plasma